Now we're shifting our focus to some other story that we are tracking very closely. Is where nearly a month after the sectarian violence erupted in Manipur, the situation in Imphal and the hilly regions remain tense, with an uneasy calm prevailing across the state. The army is still on the ground. The chief minister continues to appeal for peace. And now even the Home Minister Amit Shah is in Manipur reviewing the security situation and carrying out a community outreach. The Home Minister is in Manipur holding several rounds of meetings with the representatives of all major communities and tribes. He met delegations of politicians, bureaucrats and civil society groups along with Kuki and Methi communities in Moreh today. A section of Manipuris feel that it's the failure of the Biren government which led to the escalation of the violence in the state, with 100-odd deaths, including suspected militants who were killed in the operation by security forces in the area where they targeted civilians. As interlocutors hold peace talks, the question that arises is that will this outreach by the central government help bridge the gap between the communities and resurrect Manipur? Was the Biren government unable to assess the gravity of the crisis, and will the Home Minister's visit fill the fault lines that may have been created due to the administrative failure? Before we put these questions to our guests, let's take a look at a special report from Ground Zero.
This is the entire residential complex that my video journalist Devendra Brishth is showing to you, and this has been completely burned down by miscreants, and these are the houses which was completely burned down. As long as I can see, in this residential area there were around 28 to 30 houses which was completely burned down after the clashes broke out on 3rd of May, and on 4th or 5th this enhanced to Imphal, and this is Imphal East area where the entire residential complex was completely burnt down. Now central leadership under the chairmanship of Home Minister Amit Shah is taking a stock of the situation in the state of Manipur, and he's talking to different stakeholders to prevail peace in the state. But situation is still not under control. These are motor vehicles. These are the washing machines, the kitchen, the other cars which would have been parked earlier in the houses, completely burnt down, and all the residents over here had been shifted to the relief camps which were organized by the state government and by the central government. And these visuals clearly describes that how massive the fire would have been, how massive the violence would have taken place in Imphal. Currently the curfew had been imposed in the entire state.
And to discuss the situation on the ground in Manipur, I'm joined by our guest this evening, Dr. Thongkolal Haokip, who is a former journalist and an assistant professor at the Center for the Study of Law and Governance. I'm also joined by Mr. BL Vohra, who's been a former Home Secretary of Manipur. Good evening to both of you, and thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here. My first question will be to Mr. Vohra. Mr. Vohra, this entire exercise that the central government is carrying out as far as community outreach is concerned, Home Minister Amit Shah has stationed himself for the last couple of days. He's holding like series of meetings with the delegations of several communities. Will this help bridge the trust and the gap between communities, or is this only a stopgap situation?
This will definitely help, Ms. Samia. Let me tell you that. It's really great that the Home Minister of India has found 3 days consecutively to be there in Manipur. It's unheard of, it is unusual, and not only that, he has promised that he will come in July also and later in August also. Now look at the series of steps that have been taken that he's there. He's working there round the clock. Compensation has been announced for the people, for the next of kin of those who have lost their lives. Jobs are being promised, one to each family in such cases. He is visiting the relief camps. He is, as you see, he's visiting Moreh, he's visited Kangpokpi, he's visited various locations as he has held meetings with all the stakeholders. Let me tell you, I've spent over a decade in Manipur in different postings. right, from 80 onwards. There was a time when nobody even looked at the Northeast. Even the media at the central government level, at Delhi level, print and electronic both, there was never ever any news. You have been a news anchor for a long time. Earlier, there was never any news here on the Northeast. Today, you get news on Manipur, you get it in Tripura, or Assam, or Nagaland, or what happens. So I think it will definitely help a lot. And his appeal for 15 days of peace. And he said, give us time. He's heard everybody. He has assured everybody that everybody's demand will be considered. Now, coming to your earlier question, though you did not ask me, yes, I think the state government and other stakeholders, they must be having intelligence as to situation is developing, but they fail to take the required steps politically. In fact, people play even political games administratively, and the security forces also failed. Can you imagine about 1,000 weapons have been taken away from the hands of the police? I mean, it's highly unusual and loss of lives. So I think there has been a lapse, but he is doing a great effort, and I wish him all success, and I want him to succeed, and I'm hopeful he will succeed. Thank you.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Vohra, and we hope that peace and tranquility is going to be restored in the state of Manipur, and it will again be on the path of growth and development. But let me put that question across to Dr. Tengnoupal and Kangpokpi, who's also joining us. Mr. Kangpokpi, you know, we just heard what Mr. Vohra was saying, that these confidence-building exercise and the outreach by the central government to take stock of the situation on ground, none less than the Home Minister himself is present holding series of meetings. Will this help, or this is only going to be a temporary truce? Because there is a section that feels that there has been a failure or gaps on the part of the Bahrain government, and now, of course, the central government is only trying to salvage the situation on ground.
There was so much expectations of this Home Minister visit by many common people or the civil society organizations to bring back normalcy. But as you see, since this visit, you may see that there are so many incidents of violence happening. Yesterday, 10 Kuki villages were burned, and today you would see that there are more than 6 villages burned down again in Kangpokpi district. So in the midst of his visits, all these are happening. So what do we expect? There are appeals by the Chief Minister, there are appeals by the Home Minister that stern actions will be taken to all who created violence, and there are appeals to submit all those arms looted from the police stations and other police training centers. But nothing is happening on the ground. We can see violence continue. And what can we draw from this? That the head of government has failed. The law and order mechanisms has failed. And what is needed here now is to promulgate Article 356. President rule is the only remaining mechanism that can control the state. And in the valley, AFSPA has to be reimposed.
But Dr. Kangpokpi, I will have to interject over there, is that of course there is a section that is demanding President's rule, but the Home Minister says that give us 15 days. He is still in the process of hearing all the sections of society. He is meeting a cross-section of society over there in Manipur. Everybody has been given an audience. Perhaps do you think that there is a need to pause right now for the people with the demand in Manipur and wait until that 15 minutes? I beg your pardon, 15 days?
Look into who is creating violence since the last 2 days. Since the Home Minister visit, there was hope that all this violence would come to an end. But look into the violence. Who is the perpetrator? The Kuki villages are burned down in tens. Since yesterday, today, and right now there are reports that there are plans to attack Kuki villages in Kangpokpi district. There are build-up. There are people gathering in Sekmai and other places. So
But
What
Dr.
we talk
Haukip, these are
about
unconfirmed reports as to who is responsible for the violence. And since the investigation is underway and the army is deployed over there to ensure that there is no untoward incident that takes place, we should try and perhaps exercise restraint in trying to plonk the blame on any one particular community without having all the information at hand. Let me take the question across to Mr. Vohra, who still continues to be with us. Mr. Vohra, the sense on the ground essentially is that this is a too little too late that has happened from the government's end. But do you think that the Bahrain government somewhere failed to assess the seriousness and the gravity of the situation on ground, and that is the reason why the violence kept on escalating? Now, of course, the central government is trying to do everything possible in their command to be able to bring about some order in the state, but how long is this going to actually exist?
Samia, in my previous comment, I did say that the state government had failed. But I think Home Minister's going is a very big thing, very big thing. It's very unusual, and I think we must acknowledge it. Now, as far as the situation on ground is concerned, Mr. Haukip was saying that even now the violence is taking place. After landing of Home Minister is no magic man, but he has issued orders, he's spoken to people, he's going around. I think we should give him time and credit for all this. We refer to the cookie, attack on cookie villages again. Surely there has been, but there have been attacks on Maithis also equally. So there's nobody from, I think, here now who's talking of what happened to the Maithis. I think all the communities are excellent communities. They have their own aspirations and apprehensions. I think we all have to go together, forward together, and try to not find as much at fault and take corrective actions. And Home Minister has also ordered a judicial inquiry into the whole matter, or other administrative inquiry, whatever they say. He has even talked of the CBI inquiries wherever required. I think he has assured this. He has also told the security forces to take strict action against some miscreants to whichever community they belong to. So what more can he say? Surely things will improve. There was a failure. I said that earlier. Third time I am saying this. But somewhere we have to put a check. And he's doing his best. It's too little too late. But yes, better late than never. At least that situation is definitely there. I am at least very hopeful, and we should all be hopeful and contribute to this battering of the situation. See, let me tell you another thing. Manipur is a very small state, and 3 communities live there, mainly Nagas, Kukis, and Maithis. All excellent people, good people. They all have their aspirations, as I said, and apprehensions. Politics, is responsible for problems everywhere in India, everywhere. In a democracy, politicians are the one who rule, and they decide finally. But unfortunately, most of them look into their own interest everywhere across the board. All parties, all over India. Nation comes last. Having said that, I'm sure there is certainly concern.
Absolutely, Mr. Vohra. That is exactly what we should leave it at right now for this discussion before I wind up, is that, we cannot really plonk the blame on one particular community, especially when the matter is also pending at the courts. And the Home Minister has sought 15 days time to bring about some semblance. He's established the process of dialogue with people of all quarters and sections of society. Perhaps we will have to give it some time so that normalcy can return to the state of Manipur rather than jumping to conclusion right now. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Haukip and Mr. Vohra, for taking our time and joining us here at the Urban Debate.